You want real American storytelling? Buckle up. The first time I realized my wife's garden could start a war, Brenda Thornfield was on the phone with 911, shrieking about property values being destroyed, her manicure jabbing the air like she was defending the Alamo. "Call the police!" she screamed like she was reporting a murder, but really the crime was my wife planting wildflowers in our own front yard. Yeah, that happened 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. You can't make this up. There's my wife, Patricia, kneeling in Colorado, soil hands covered in earth that smelled like rain and new beginnings, wearing jeans older than some of our neighbors' kids' hair in a messy ponytail, just living. And across the street, Brenda's standing on her golf course perfect grass in full makeup and khakis, glaring like a dictator who's just spotted a rebel. The squad car pulls up, because of course it does, and the officer, bless him, takes 3 steps, stops, and his jaw hits the ground. See, the criminal in the dirt was none other than Judge Patricia Blackwood. Yeah, my wife sentences real criminals for a living, and Brenda just dialed up the police on her for gardening. Let me back up a sec, because this mess didn't start overnight. I'm Marcus Blackwood, retired firefighter, 58 years old, 32 years running into burning buildings while normal people ran out. My wife, 15 years on the bench, the kind of judge who settles drunk driving and parking disputes with the patience of a saint, but a backbone that doesn't bend. We came to Willowbrook Estates 3 years back, chasing the classic retirement dream curve streets named for trees that got bulldozed to build the place rows of beige houses, friendly faces, kids' chalk art on the sidewalk. We kept our grass tidy, paid our dues, waved to neighbors. Patricia fell in love with the yard. Finally, a real garden after years of city living. And for a while, things were good. Until Brenda. 62 big house with pointless columns, former real estate agent who treats the HOA like her private kingdom. She irons her jeans. She color codes her garden tools. You know the type. So this spring, Patricia starts pulling up that thirsty Kentucky bluegrass, puts in native Colorado wildflowers, callines, Indian paintbrush, blanket flowers. Stuff that actually belongs here. Every weekend she's out there, and I'm just watching her thinking this is the happiest I've ever seen her. Then click, 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 heels on concrete at 7:30 a.m., and here comes Brenda waving a printout like it's a court summons. This landscaping violates our community standards. She tries to hit Patricia with a $200 fine for non-conforming vegetation. Patricia, calm as ever, asks, "Which covenant does this violate?" Brenda puffs up. Section 12.4, she insists. Patricia's read the rules cover to cover. Section 12.4 only bans dead or dying plants. Ours are healthy. Brenda's voice gets shrill. I know what I meant when we wrote these rules, and that's when it hits me. This isn't about community standards. This is Brenda making the rules up as she goes. And we weren't alone. Next week we find out Brenda's been targeting other families. Frank Clav, a Vietnam vet, fined for growing tomatoes. Sarah Quinn, a single mom, charged $300 to make her kids' chalk art disappear. A widow cited for excessive bird feeding. Always the folks who couldn't fight back. Always the ones just a little different from Brenda's Stepford standards. Patricia says we're not paying. 2 days later, we get a certified letter. Fines doubled to $400, emergency board meeting held unanimous vote, which means Brenda, her neighbor Dorothy, and Dorothy's husband Carl, who sleeps through every meeting. Patricia calls around, the real board had no clue. Brenda was fabricating meetings, minutes, everything. But here's the thing about being married to a judge. Patricia knows the law. Colorado says you need written notice in a hearing before you can fine someone. Brenda did neither. So Patricia files a formal complaint with the state. That's when Brenda really loses it. She starts driving by our house every morning at dawn, taking pictures of grass blades and hoses like a paparazzo for the HOA. But while Brenda's building her evidence, Patricia's talking to neighbors collecting stories. Turns out Brenda's been using her HOA power to pick on anyone she deems wrong. Frank got fined for his Purple Heart license plate, only reversed when his vet buddies got involved. Sarah was fined for a soccer ball on the lawn. The widow for her bird bath. Always the vulnerable, always a paper trail. And then Patricia uncovers Brenda's twist. Every fine, every emergency meeting Brenda called. They all happened when most of the board was out of town, so no one could stop her. This wasn't just power hungry, this was calculated intimidation. So Patricia gets strategic. Every one of Brenda's violation notices, every bogus fine, every photo gets documented. Patricia's building a legal brief. Brenda's playing checkers. Patricia's playing chess. Brenda tries one last card, demands an architectural review of our wildflowers, brings in her expert Roger, who's really just her old real estate partner. We show up at the community center. Patricia walks in wearing her judge's robe, calm as you please. Brenda crumbles. Roger can't tell the difference between a state flower and a weed. Patricia, meanwhile, points out Brenda's own backyard violations fence, too high pond without review, hot tub out of code. Brenda tries to end the hearing. Patricia just smiles and asks one last question about legal authority. Silence. So Brenda does what every desperate tyrant does. She tries to turn the neighborhood against us, slaps us all with a $5,000 special assessment to pay for the HOA's supposed legal expenses. Only Patricia had already gotten records showing Brenda's been funneling HOA money to her own consulting company, 47 grand over 2 years, all under the radar. The room goes dead quiet as Patricia lays out the proof at the next neighborhood meeting. Frank stands up. Lady, are you telling us you've been stealing our money? Brenda goes nuclear, tries to storm out, but not before Patricia reveals the kicker: the HOA's corporate status had been dissolved for 18 months. Every fine, every fee, legally worthless. Money straight into Brenda's account. And here's the twist: when Patricia's paralegal friend Jennifer cross-checks the violations with housing discrimination databases, the pattern is obvious. Brenda's been targeting the elderly single parents and anyone who doesn't fit her perfect little box. Over $23,000 gone, most of it from people least able to fight back. That night, sitting at our kitchen table surrounded by stacks of evidence, Patricia asks, we could send all this to the DA. But does that really fix the damage? Instead, she hatches a plan: restore the HOA's legal standing, recover every stolen dollar, and make sure Brenda can't do this to anyone ever again. Operation Wildflower Justice kicks off with our kitchen turned into mission control. Patricia's in charge. Frank, our new HOA president, reluctantly. Sarah, the new treasurer, runs data like a pro. We file papers, freeze accounts, build a neighbor-to-neighbor support group. Patricia's on a mission, and for the first time, the neighborhood's behind her. Brenda tries every dirty trick. Files complaints, hires a PI, starts a flyer campaign, smearing Patricia's name. She even harasses Patricia's elderly mother, who responds with a legendary, "Do I know you?" Frank's a rock. Sarah documents everything, and Patricia just keeps smiling that you messed with the wrong judge smile. The final showdown. Brenda files a federal lawsuit, accuses Patricia of civil rights violations under color of law. It's a joke, but it still takes time. Then she shows up at the courthouse, sign in hand, staging a one-woman protest. Detective Ray Kowalski checks her ID, finds a warrant for her own arrest. 3 unpaid tickets. The irony is so thick you could bottle it and sell it as poetic justice. Days later, Brenda resigns from every HOA. The Attorney General's office gets involved. The news picks up the story. Brenda pleads guilty, fraud, theft, false reports. She's banned from HOA boards for life, pays restitution, and does the walk of shame. Frank wins the new election, complains the whole time. Sarah keeps the books. We use the recovered funds for a community garden and scholarship. Patricia's wildflowers become a state landmark. Home values go up. The legislature passes a new law named for Brenda. And me, I get to see my wife's garden bloom every spring, knowing it stands for something bigger than flowers. Funny how one stubborn neighbor trying to kill your joy can end up making your community stronger. If you take one thing from our story, let it be this: never let a clipboard bully run the show. Check your HOA paperwork, document everything, and find your own Frank, the one who'll stand up when it matters. Now, I know every neighborhood's got a Brenda. What's your HOA nightmare? Drop your story below. Maybe you'll see it here next week. Hit subscribe if you believe good neighbors beat petty tyrants every time. Next up, wait till you hear about the parking enforcer who tried to ticket the city's new transportation director while she was watching. Justice, my friends, sometimes blooms wildest where you least expect it.